increase compared to 24-25 financial allocation, which amounted to 1.259 billion. The allocation for Human Settlement Development Grant, HSDG, which is a main conditional grant, has increased from 758 million to 829.3 million in 25-26 financial year. This is an increase of 9.4% from the National Department of Human Settlements. The allocation increases slightly again in 26-27 financial year by 1.3%, an additional 4.5% during the 27-28 financial year. The allocation for Human Settlement Upgrading Partnership Grant, ICPG, for 25-26 financial year amounts to 162.3 million, which is a decrease from 245 million of 24-25. Going forward, the National Human Settlement decreases the ICPG allocation across the MTF, with 26-27 seeing an amount of 54.5 million and 27-28 allocated 56.9 million. We have set aside earmarked funding for 30 million for the demolition and construction of the old two-roomed houses. In terms of sources of funding, Speaker, 230.8 million comes from equitable share. HSDG gives us 829.3 million. ICPG gives us 162.3 million. The earmarked funding on is the 30 million, totaling about 1.252 billion. The budget would be spent across the following program areas. Program 1, which is administration, receives 142 million. Housing needs research and planning receives 24.5. Housing development receives 1.1 billion. Housing assets as well as property management receives 2.2 million. From the economic classification perspective, the spending is categorized as follows. In terms of compensation of employees, we've got 219 million. Goods and services receives 34.7 million. Transfers and subsidies, 1 billion. Payments of capital assets receives 2.1 million, totaling to 1.278 billion. Now, Speaker, since its inception, the democratic government has been seized with the task to address housing backlog for the majority of Africans in this country. The South African population grew from 44.5 million in 1995 to 63.2 million in 2023. This placed enormous pressure on the fiscus, infrastructure, and the land available to settle our people. This population growth of 20 million placed tremendous pressure for human settlement to respond to. In the context of our country and province, we had to craft new settlement with amenities or services such as water and sewer to ensure dignity, whilst at the same time provide water and sewer to the majority of the pre-94 townships that had no such services. Ours was to build communities and not just houses. In confronting this historical challenge, our task is to build human settlements that are productive, eco-friendly, integrated, bridges the gap between the rich and the poor, and undermine apartheid spatial patterns. Our work must restore dignity. It must foster national unity and contribute to reducing the cost of living by settling our people near amenities and places of work, thus reducing their traveling expenses. We need to plan with the entirety of government to entrench construction of new modern settlement with all required services such as schools, police stations, clinics, etc. Our struggle, Speaker, was about the restoration of human dignity, where our people will live in harmony and in peace. In pursuing the work to build a new society, we continue to draw inspiration from all generations of freedom fighters, and the June 16 detachment in particular. For these generations had to face bullets for all of us to enjoy freedom today. From student struggles, the June 16 detachment swelled the ranks of Umkhonto weSizwe, the People's Army, to take student struggles to another level. Placed in our hands is the task to build the type of society they dreamt of, and it's our duty to do everything in our power to honor them. Providing elders with secure dwellings, workers with decent housing, students with learning facilities near their homes, and women with safe and secure communities to live in will be the best tribute to this death-defying generation of 76. Honorable members, last year we stood before this August House and made firm commitments. Today we return with an account of what has been accomplished and what is outstanding. We completed 574 breaking new ground or BNG units across 5 districts, bringing stability and security to hundreds of families. Our progress on the project to deliver 5,555 service sites far exceeded the annual target of 1,100 on our Greenfields project. Each site brings us closer to sustainable and inclusive communities. For our esteemed military veterans, although we completed 30 units at Vista Park, these units are yet to be occupied. Mangaung is resolving contractual review processes with the developer, and we hope that by the end of the fiscal year, qualified military veterans will have occupied these houses. Our informal settlement upgrading program has seen improvements to 2,520 service sites, paving the way for the formalization in the new year. To date, 220 asbestos roofs have been removed, and additional 180 will be done in this financial year. The department is trying to find a cheaper way compared to the current, where the amount required for a single asbestos roof to be removed is the same as building a new house. Our rural development program led to the finalization of plans for the eradication of mud houses in Kwakwa and as well as Tabanchu. These are not just structures. They are homes where our people can live in dignity and safety. The First Home Finance Program supported the missing middle in acquiring homes of their own. This speaks to our vision of a housing continuum that includes and empowers all strata of our society. The program is best placed to benefit new families to acquire decent homes for their families without too many requirements associated with commercial bonds. We're making significant strides in our community residential units, or CRUs, as they are popularly referred to. The ongoing work in Dark and Silver City in Mangaung and G Hostel in Machabe is nearing completion after years of delays. As per the current plan, the phase 1 launch, which will be around January and August, will see the first intake of the beneficiaries taking occupation, and the rest will follow once completion is achieved. In the financial year 24-25, we committed to continuing the upgrading of Pambil informal settlement in Litsemen local municipality. We can report that all the necessary studies, including the environmental impact assessments, were successfully completed. The application was submitted to the Municipal Planning Tribunal for approval. After all objections, we hope this will then be finalized. Speaker, the 4 municipalities do not have functional MPTs: Letsemeng, Mohokare, Mantsopa, Malutapofun, to mention but a few. MPTs play a critical role in managing land use, approving development applications, guiding spatial planning. When these bodies fail to function, the formalization of informal settlement stalls, with serious consequences for broader developmental goals. We are working together with COGTA to urgently strengthen these institutions and prioritize their functioning across the province. Speaker, the 24-25 financial year, the department committed to providing level 2 accreditation support to Mangaung Metro Municipality. In terms of this accreditation framework, Mangaung should be in a position to perform the following functions. In terms of level 1 functions, it includes subsidy budget planning, submission of identified housing projects and programs to the MEC for approval, beneficiary management, housing subsidy registration, subsidy management, accreditation reporting, as well as document management. In terms of level 2 functions, it includes all of the above functions, and as well as procurement and appointment of implementing agents, project or program management, contract administration, technical quality assurance, budget management. In addition to that, we continue to offer pre-accreditation to the following local municipalities: Malutiapofu, Dihlabeng, Mokaga, and as well as Metsi Maholo municipality. Honorable Speaker, our catalytic human settlements projects continue to drive spatial justice, economic revitalization, and inclusive development across our province. In Bethlehem, the Back-and-Park integrated development is nearing its completion. The project entails servicing of 1,400 sites with water, sanitation, and roads. This project is projected to reach completion by October 2025, and currently we are on track. This is a mixed development, and once done, we will commence with the construction of top structures for qualifying beneficiaries. The project also integrates the development of social amenities such as schools, public facilities that will anchor long-term sustainability and functionality of this area. The Sasolburg catalytic intervention focuses on the rollout of water and sewer infrastructure to over 4,900 planned sites. Work on the ground has advanced, with more than 2,000 sites already connected to reticulation networks. This project is instrumental in unlocking the potential of the Vaal River City Region Economic Corridor, creating the conditions for mixed income housing, industrial growth, and municipal revenue enhancement. We are also providing technical and program management support to the municipalities of Machabeng and Malutiapofu as they lead two of the province's flagship mega projects. This is the Pakisa Gateway project, as well as the Kwakwa Gateway developments, which are envisioned as integrated, multi-year, multi-sectoral, that will stimulate local economies, attract private sector participation, and provide thousands of housing opportunities in line with our provincial human settlement master plan. Through these catalytic initiatives, we are not only building houses, we are building resilient, connected, and vibrant communities where people can live, work, and thrive. This year, we will build 1,923 new housing units across various typologies, including BNG, FLISP, which is now referred to as First Homes, and CRUs. We will service 1,811 new sites to prepare for further development. We will register 1,886 title deeds and continue upgrading informal settlements with 34 new projects planned. We will introduce digital tools to track beneficiary progress, monitor contractor performance, and enable greater transparency. This is part of our shift towards more responsive and citizen-centric governance. Speaker, the Free State Provincial Government has officially commenced with planning and early implementation phases of the Vaal River City Region Initiative. This is a bold and transformative vision aimed at exploiting the vast resources and the area of Vaal River Region into a catalytic economic corridor between the Free State Province and Gauteng. This initiative is more than just a spatial development. It is a strategic response to unlock economic potential, stimulate cross-border trade, and improve mobility and investment between two of South Africa's landlocked provinces. As a Department of Human Settlement, we are playing a foundational role in this groundbreaking project through the provision of 4,900 fully serviced residential sites at Wonderfontein in Sasolburg. These sites will form the backbone of the emerging urban hub that will support inclusive residential expansion, stimulate local construction and engineering sectors, and enable housing delivery in tandem with the planned infrastructure rollout. To date, 2,500 sites have already been connected to both water and sewer networks, marking a significant milestone in the project rollout and reinforcing our commitment to providing quality service land for sustainable human settlement. The department is also overseeing a similarly scaled infrastructure project in Mokoena, Kronstadt, where water and sewer services will be installed to support 5,300 residential sites. Construction is already well underway, with more than 2,700 sites successfully connected to key services, reflecting our drive to maintain momentum across multiple high-impact nodes. These integrated infrastructure efforts are aligned with the district development model and form part of our broader strategy to prepare the province for densification, industrial expansion, and smart city planning. Speaker, these are not just projects. They reflect our resolve to build a free state that is more connected, more resilient, and more inclusive. We cannot build a new and inclusive future without addressing unfinished work of our past. As part of our ongoing efforts to restore dignity and deliver on our housing mandate, the department has initiated an audit of incomplete housing units across the province. In the current financial year, we have set an ambitious target to complete 1,663 BNG units that have remained unfinished over the years. These interventions are not random. They are strategically linked to the broader infrastructure upgrades within our districts. For instance, the Harib district, we are prioritizing outstanding projects in Kofifontein. In Machabeng, we are finalizing work in Honey Park and K10 in Odendalsres. And in Dihlaben, the long-stall development in Polru for water and sewer infrastructure. Working closely with Machabeng local municipality, we have initiated a steering committee that will ensure an easy uptake of the G hostel that is now nearing completion to avert illegal occupation of these CRUs and to ensure that the rightful beneficiaries are accommodated. Going forward, we will introduce appointed service providers to the respective communities and maintain transparency and accountability throughout implementation. We must ensure that all our work is in line with municipal IDPs, that we be consistent with the district development model aimed at achieving one district, one budget, one plan. Speaker, as we accelerate the resolution of the legacy projects, we are also encouraging our efforts in our identified priority development areas, namely Mangaung Metro, Dihlabe Municipality, and Metsimaholo Municipality. These PDAs are receiving focused attention as engines of sustainable growth and development, ensuring that the gains we make in addressing historical backlogs also reinforce the momentum of our current and future projects. For the province continues to experience various emergencies from time to time, often because of severe weather conditions. In response, the department has adopted a strategy to fast-track emergency interventions and ensure that emergency houses are now completed within the 3-week turnaround time. This approach allows for a swift and dignified response to those affected. Emergency situation requires emergency responses. Emergency situation does not require normal responses. Recently, we responded to the plight of a 77-year-old Meneli Simpi of Tabanchu and a Memalurule Mulatum Dagani in Kwagwa. Government had to intervene in these two cases as they were affected by extreme weather which destroyed their dwellings. Speaker, we are happy to report that government has managed to construct 2 new houses within a period of 3 weeks, and the 2 families are now settled in their homes. The department has been directed to work on the capacity to respond in less than 3 weeks in our emergency cases, particularly where the vulnerable in society are affected. Speaker, the removal of asbestos roofing remains one of the most urgent and challenging priorities in pursuit of dignity, health, and safety of our communities. The province has approximately 33,000 housing units roofed with hazardous asbestos material. With the current cost structure to replace a single asbestos roof, the province will need around 4 billion rand plus. These are the resources we don't have, as currently we have allocated 20 million rand to initiate asbestos roofing eradication in all 5 districts. This allocation will support the removal and replacement of asbestos roofing in an initial 180 units, focusing on high-risk areas and the most vulnerable households. To accelerate progress, the department is working in partnership with the Housing Development Agency, which has already begun work on the ground to prioritize, assess, and implement asbestos removal interventions. Speaker, in November 2024, I had the honor to be part of the South African delegation to the 12th World Urban Forum, hosted in Cairo, Egypt, the land of the pharaohs. The forum provided a critical platform for knowledge exchange on sustainable development. Among the key lessons drawn from the World Forum, many of which directly reinforce our provincial strategic goals, were the following: the urgent need to reduce housing backlogs by adopting innovative and scalable delivery models. The importance of strengthening climate resilience by embedding green and sustainable infrastructure in our human settlement planning. The necessity of fostering inclusive governance to ensure equitable access to shelter and services for all our communities. Guided by these global insights, the department and alternative building technologies. Furthermore, as part of our broader intervention strategy, we are now extending the use of this ABT to address the persistent issue of mud houses in rural and informal settlements. The traditional structures, whilst often deeply rooted in heritage and carries emotional and sentimental value amongst the household members, they pose a significant challenge in terms of safety, durability, and climate resistance. We therefore anticipate serious antagonism towards the intended demolitions of the structures amongst our people. Through the adoption of IBT and ABT philosophy, we aim to systematically eradicate mud house structures and replace them with dignified, sustainable, and climate-adapted housing units. This will go a long way in achieving dignified living conditions in the rural areas of Tabanchu as well as Kwakwa, which is where these mud houses are found. Speaker, in this financial year, we are also re-establishing the enhanced people housing program in the province and have conducted consumer education workshops in the wards that fall under the traditional leadership, both in the Mangawe Metro as well as the Maluti Apofun local municipality. In preparation for the full implementation, we will be formalizing structures to develop feasibility and implementation plans to roll out the program in partnership with the municipalities that are affected as well as the traditional councils operating in that particular space. Speaker, the First Home Finance Program experienced serious challenges during its implementation stages. This is largely due to alleged corrupt activities that occurred between some individuals and conveyancers. This has negatively affected the program's performance in the third and the fourth quarter. We have therefore instituted internal investigations and referred the matter to the law enforcement agencies. In an effort of restructuring the program, we embarked on a marketing campaign through FM radio, largely because majority of our communities are deprived of information about what government is offering. But also, we wanted to address the gap of an untapped market that has not been catered for when it comes to housing delivery. These are South African citizens whose income bracket is between 3,500 and up to 22,000 per month. They are known as the affordable gap market. Speaker, we are happy to announce that the qualifying criteria for the first home finance has since been relaxed and allows for various loans products such as mortgage loans, unsecured housing loans granted from any lender registered with the National Credit Regulator, housing loans granted by community-based saving schemes such as stokvels and cooperatives. The target for 24-25 financial year is 86 units. Today, the department has registered a total of 90 verified applications that will form the basis of our target for the 24-25 financial year. The department concedes that there has been slow progress in the delivery of both social and affordable housing programs across the province. This is due to several and unforeseen circumstances. The department has since revisited several issues, such as contractual arrangements for contractors, and has engaged with other state organs, such as the Social Housing Regulatory Authority, commonly known as SRA, and this is to streamline our planning as well as the execution of the program in general. We have partnered with the HTA as part of the inner city rejuvenation to develop the NBS building and Hamilton in the Mangaung Metro. We have appointed, the department has appointed 9 members of the rental tribunal, effective from the 1st of April 2025 until the 31st of March 2028. They will be expected to assist the department in providing stability within the rental housing sector and as well as resolving disputes between landlords and tenants. We will also embark on road shows at the level of municipalities to enhance stakeholder engagements. The department will utilize media platforms such as radio, social media, and print media to educate our communities about the work of the Rental Housing Tribunal and how they stand to benefit from it. Honorable Speaker, the Free State Province continues to face growing challenge of internal settlements, with over 189 informal settlements currently recorded, and housing an estimated 84,495 households. These settlements are not merely statistics. They reflect the lived experiences of thousands of our people who yearn for security, dignity, and improved living conditions. This trend underscores the urgent need for coordinated, forward-looking interventions that address both the symptoms and the root causes of informal habitation. In response, the department is finalizing comprehensive informal settlements, upgrading and rapid land release strategy, aimed at transforming informal settlements into valuable and sustainable, aimed at transforming informal settlements into viable, sustainable, and integrated human settlements. At the heart of this approach is the recognition that informal settlements are often the consequences of inadequate access to affordable housing, slow land release processes, and historical spatial inequalities. The strategy will focus on 3 core pillars. 1, in situ upgrading to enhance living conditions without displacing residents unnecessarily. Improved urban planning and land tenure reform, which aims at ensuring communities gain legal access to land and basic services. Targeted infrastructure investment, which aims at aligning to township development as well as population needs. We are strengthening our partnerships with municipalities and various spheres of government. In addition, we have commenced feasibility studies and technical evaluations to determine infrastructure capacity, land ownership, and development potential across identified settlements. Despite severe fiscal constraints, the department has taken decisive steps by prioritizing and upgrading 34 informal settlements across the province. These have been earmarked to be upgraded in 3 phases to ensure effective planning, budget, and implementation. The priority list includes in Metsimaholo, Raymond Mhlaba, in Mafube, internal settlements, Mohokare, Baipei in Somerset, Pumelela, its Foster section, in Lezemeng, it's Pambili, in Malutiapofung, it's Latliwe, and portion 41, in Manzupa, it's Parlamenteng and Marikana, Platberg Strip, in Masilonyana, it's Slovo Park, by paying in Nala, it's Vergenoeg, in Pumelela, it's Foster section, in Zolopili, it's Park 5229, and by paying In Mokari, it's Refeng Khotso and Ezibeleni. In Kopanong, it's Ipopeng and Riverside. In Hoogte, Makwai, Muletsani. In Machabeng, it's Freedom Square, C-section and N1. Kukuletu, in Nketwana, it's Hillview. And finally, in Sotho, it's Machoteng, Wetland, Biketlong, Madinonyan, Extension 11, Ethiopia, and Mokoena sections. These communities represent our initial focus areas as we roll out a phased informal settlement upgrading program under Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 according to the readiness, available infrastructure, and municipal capacity. We are advancing rapid land release program, which aims to unlock land parcels for township development and housing construction. This initiative will streamline land acquisition, planning approvals, and servicing of sites. The strategy is at an advanced stage, and we will soon embark on a broad consultative process involving municipalities, traditional leaders, civil society, and community representatives to ensure inclusive and well-informed implementation. Speaker, the human face of this tragedy is our fellow citizens, mothers, youth, and elderly living in precarious conditions. It is our duty to restore their dignity and bring them into the fold of planned, serviced, and secure human settlements. This is not just a housing intervention, it's a social and economic transformation imperative. The department is undergoing a comprehensive process of structural engineering aimed at institutional responsiveness, accountability, and service delivery. This process is currently being undertaken in close consultation with the Office of the Premier, the Provincial Treasury, and the Department of Public Service and Administration, and will be finalized by the end of the 25-26 financial year. At the heart of this transformation is our commitment to a district-oriented delivery model. To this end, weekly coordination meetings have been institutionalized at the district level. These sessions enable early identification of implementation bottlenecks and strengthening of our monitoring and oversight functions across the province. Furthermore, we have adopted a rotational allocation framework for both consultants and contractors. This approach ensures equitable participation, promotes transparency, and optimizes the use of available technical capacity across all projects. In support of real-time decision-making, the department is deploying interactive dashboards to track project implementation, budget performance, and service delivery outputs. These tools will empower senior management to respond proactively and allocate resources more efficiently. Speaker, we are equally focused on transforming our internal capabilities. The department has commenced with a skills audit during the current financial year. This critical exercise will assess the alignment between staff competencies and organizational needs, ensuring that our human capital is strategically deployed to drive performance and enhance service delivery. Simultaneously, we are implementing approved organizational structure, aligning functions with strategic priorities, and eliminating duplication. Dedicated task teams have been established to lead change management in key functional areas, supported by targeted skills development programs to close capacity gaps and prepare our workforce for the demands of a modern, responsive public institution. These interventions represent our unwavering commitment to professionalize the public service, improve internal efficiencies, and restore efficiency in delivering our mandate. In conclusion, Speaker, I would like to thank the people of the Free State and ask them to continue working with us as we deliver on our mandate. I also want to thank the Premier for the guidance, members of the Executive Council of the Free State for the support, and the Chair of the Portfolio Committee and the entire members of the committee. The HOD, the senior management, and the general departmental staff. The staff in the office of the MEC, led by the head of office, thank you very much. Let me thank my family, the partner, and the kids for understanding and the support provided. Finally, let me thank the People's Movement, the African National Congress, for the opportunity given to serve our people of the Free State. I salute. Thank you very much.
Premier, welcome. We waited for you. We could not start without you. We apologize for starting without you. Probably next time. Thank you. Thank you. We proceed to the debates on the MEC's presentation of the budget vote of the Department of Human Settlement. Ndademakume, you may now address the House. Kibona ogenze mask o sabui. Jwalo to bua jwalo to re tshwaetsa jwalo. A o kenye mask.
Akikuli ke itshireletsa, Honorable Speaker. Akikuli.
O wa itshireletsa ona o tshwaetsa.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier, colleagues in the Executive Council, members of Parliament, Legislature, the Acting Director General, HODs, the staff from Human Settlement, and everyone present, Dumela. This Human Settlement budget vote takes place during the year of significant importance as we mark, commemorate, and reflect on the 70 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter at the historic Congress of the People in Klip Town in 1955. This Congress, which was attended by all the people from all different walks of life, non-racial, non-sexist, anonymously adopted the Freedom Charter as a principal blueprint for social justice and transformation in a racially divided South Africa. But the people made a clarion call on that day. And they said, there shall be houses, security, and comfort. And I'm going to support this based on what the people said then. And happy that the budget presented today, it is still in pursuant of what our people said then. They said all the people shall have the right to live where they choose, be decently housed, and to bring their families in comfort and security. Slums shall be demolished and new suburbs shall be built where all have transport, roads, lighting, playing fields, creches, schools, and social centers. And if you listen to today's speech, there are some of the Catholic projects that the MEC has referred to, and they actually reflect on this clarion call. One of them you found in Kwakwa, one of them you'll also find them in the area of Metsimaholi in Sasolburg. This clarion call highlights the fundamental human need for shelter and place to call home, emphasizing point that housing is more than just a physical structure. It's about providing security, comfort, dignity, and sense of belonging. Freedom Charter remains our guiding compass in the work of transforming the lives of our people for the better. This clarion call also lies at the core of our approach to human settlement. Honorable Speaker, one psychologist based in America, Ndate Abraham Maslow, developed the theory of widely known as the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the theory which teaches us that humans are motivated by a series of needs from most basic to most advanced. One of the theory principles is the psychological needs. These are the most basic needs for survival, including air, food, water, shelter, clothing, and peaceful sleep. The second one is the safety needs. Once psychological needs are met, it follows that individuals begin to seek safety, security, and financial security, health and protection from accidents and harm. And the other need is love and belonging. This level encompasses the need for social connection, love, belonging, and intimacy, such as friendship, family, and romantic relationship. These are some of the basic needs that underscore the importance of housing in building a stable foundation for families and communities to settle. It is for that reason that the ANC-led government has shifted a little bit from a housing department to a human settlement. The human settlement is a basic need, and it is involved housing. So providing housing, protection from elements, safety from harm, and sense of security, which are essential for physical and mental well-being. The emotional well-being, through the emergency housing project, it's one area that is being catered for. Memulatu Mdagane and Limeneli Simpe, Kiahola Bamutlotlu, Kaseo MEC le Lefapha le ba etseditseng sona, ha ba ne ba hloka hore maikutlo a bona a tshireletsehe. Having a stable and secure home contributes to individuals' emotional well-being. And ke a tshepa hore Memulatu Mdagane le Meneli Simpe mo ba leng teng ba kgotsofetse haholo. And it reduces stress. I'm hopeful that the stresses seo neng se aparetse le lapa le bohle ba aisane sebakeng seo sa Qwaqwa le sebakeng sa Thabanchu ba thabile ebile ba keteka ka baka la seo o se entseng. And promoting a sense of peace and comfort. I don't doubt that Memdakane, Mulatu, and Meneli Simpe, they are in peace and they are now comfortable with what they have. The social equity. The housing provides opportunities for families to build homes, which is a principal school of human virtues. As ANC government, we have the duty to restore these virtues that the apartheid government has purposefully destroyed. The labor migration system, which put people far away from the workplace and work opportunities, broke family units apart as men ventured into the city to look for jobs, and those who got jobs were housed in so-called hostels for men, and no women and children were allowed to be accommodated, with no adequate sanitation, with no clean water, at times with no electricity, because according to the white rule then, they belong to an inferior race which does not deserve a human dignity, which does not deserve a human settlement. That was not deserving a human treatment. This is what the ANC government is beginning to address. The African National Congress, resolutions on housing prioritize expanding access to housing, accelerating land reform, and upgrading informal settlement. It is for that reason that we are still calling upon the land to be equally distributed to the people of this country so that they can all benefit and be settled. This, it is also in pursuit of the call that was made in 1955. The very purpose of this bold resolution by the ANC is precisely to address the historical inequalities in housing and settlement patterns to ensure access to well-being located land for human settlement. Secondly, and most important, is the direct focus to improving the equality of lives of our people through quality housing development. MEC, we therefore support the comprehensive informal settlements upgrading and rapid land release strategy that you have also initiated. It is also going to ensure that our people, for the first time, they will get the right to land and the right to human settlements. Honorable Speaker, everyone has the right to advance or to have access to adequate housing. Section 26(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa says that this is a basic right that is enshrined in our Constitution and in the supreme law of our land. As such, the government is obliged to everything within this means to release or to realize the right which is enshrined by our people. The inclusion of housing as a basic right in our country's constitution makes it a priority issue for the government. We understand that we have both a duty and obligation to address the country's housing challenges and promote integrated sustainable development. But of more particular importance is to focus on our province and ensure that our people are being housed and are being treated humanly. And human settlement is at the core of that. Therefore, the Department of Human Settlement has once again a mandate which is integral in an effort of government to change the lives of the people of the Free State for the better. And we are happy that with the budget that has been presented, indeed, the MEC and the department, they are in pursuit of that. Amongst others, it includes radically transforming the apartheid spatial planning and patterns of social exclusion. It has a responsibility to facilitate de-racialization and promote socio-economic integration of our communities. It is for that reason that we support the initiatives that we are taking in the areas of Bethlehem and the areas of Sasolburg, where you are integrating communities in relation to human settlement. Honorable Speaker, if apartheid did not happen in this country, if one race did not consider itself as superior over the rest, if there was never a law that unfairly discriminated against people based on their color, if there was never a system that disinherited indigenous people of their land, we will have never been declared the most unqualified society in this world. We are unequal society in the world today because all of the above happened in our country under apartheid. Honorable Speaker, some people believe that it's an exaggeration to still blame apartheid 30 years into democracy. Yet, the fact is that the legacy of apartheid continue to significantly impact on the South African even today, particularly Africans in particular and blacks in general. You may ask yourselves, the 189 informal settlements that the MEC has referred to, who are in majority living in those informal settlements? It's blacks and Africans in particular. Much as we have made some strides towards democracy and equality since 1994, the deep-seated structures and patterns established during the apartheid era continue to shape social, economic, and political realities of our time. During the apartheid era in this country, blacks and Africans were severely restricted and often prohibited from owning the land, particularly in areas designated for white residents only. It is for that reason that we really appreciate the work that we are doing, where we are beginning to implement integrated communities under the one aim and mission of building a free state which accommodates non-racialism and non-sexism. A law was developed and called a Native Land Act in 1913, whose sole purpose was to limit the African land ownership to a very small, tiny percentages of the entire country's landmarks. In percentages, they will tell you that 13% was only made for the white people, and the rest percentages was for the minority who happens to be whites. Not only that, Speaker, but this act also further restricted where black people could live and own property. This practice has resulted in significant economic disparities, with wealth and land ownership largely concentrated in the hands of the white minority. Much as the legal restrictions on land ownership has been lifted since the end of apartheid, the legacy of the years of discriminatory law continues to affect the property ownership patterns and wealth distribution. MEC Mokoena, we support your call through your rapid land release program, which aims to unlock land parcels for township development and housing construction. Such initiatives will only accelerate our housing delivery program, but will restore the dignity of our people. We know that apartheid did only take away our people's land, but our dignity too, for land is property and property is wealth. Human settlement and economic settlement requires a balance between economic growth, social development, and prudent allocation of human resources. This budget, once more, puts us on a track in ensuring that we end the apartheid legacy of separate development and maximize the state resources to register a meaningful impact on government interventions. The settlements, especially in urban centers, act as hubs for economic activities. They concentrate resources, labor, and infrastructure, facilitating trade, production, and innovation. Accessibility, connectivity. The settlements that are mostly located on key transportation routes, like along our major national roads, often experience higher rates of economic growth, attracting businesses and investment. It is for that reason that we also support the getaway in Kwakwa and other smart cities in the areas of Maluti Apufu. Through human settlement, we foster social connections and corporations which lead to the development of local business, industries, and economic opportunities. We are able to enhance the skills and human capital which are vital for economic growth and development. In conclusion, we should always remember that everyone who participated in denying our people the right to housing, the right to human settlement, you also denied them the right to homes, the right to build memories, the right to have love, the right to have communities. We have also denied them to live in a better life. We have also denied them to enjoy what we call life. The ANC supports this budget because it tries to restore the right to life and the dignity to life. Thank you very much.
Honourable Speaker, we kept the worst for last because this department remains the single greatest headache for this provincial government. It systematically fails to spend housing grants year after year. And the result? Massive forfeitures, funds meant for homes returned and spent in other provinces. Speak about denying others and housing targets not being achieved. Just look at the fourth quarterly report of this department. So sorry, MEC, you have no good story to tell. It's a pattern, and it speaks to fundamental failure. Failure in planning, failure in execution, and failure in financial control. So let's talk about numbers. Between 2019 and 2023, nearly R1 billion was forfeited. In 2023 alone, R600 million returned. Just last year, 50 million was stopped because Treasury simply had no faith this department would spend it properly. Speaker, it's not just the money also, it's the mess. Unfinished housing projects litter this province. Ghost sites, promises made, promises abandoned. Unfinished housing projects litter this province, Speaker. Contractors walk away with no consequences. And the human cost? Beneficiaries who have waited for years. Denied MEC Makume, families still waiting. And when we ask why, the answer is quite simply in their own performance reports. The Portfolio Committee's research actually shows the department only achieved 33% of its annual target this year. That's failure by far, Speaker. But this government, the ANC, continues to vote for this department's budget, continues to fund it, continues to reward failure with more money. We will see it again tomorrow. Another 1.23 billion rand for housing, we cannot surely say will reach beneficiaries. Speaker, I said it in the Portfolio Committee and I will say it here. Section 100 of the Constitution is very clear, MEC and Premier. When a province cannot or does not fulfill an executive obligation, the national executive may intervene by taking any appropriate steps. This department has failed in its mandate and consistently. If you are serious about consequent management, MEC, show political commitment. You know what to do. At least consider Section 100 before we lose another billion. Thank you, MEC.
You look surprised. Oh.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier, caucus of the Economic Freedom Fighters led by Honorable Dipoko, members of the Free State Legislature, distinguished guests, I greet you all. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the Provincial Parliament, today I rise to address a critical issue that has far-reaching implications for the people of the Free State Province, the failure of our women settlement initiatives. Housing is not merely a structure, it is a foundation of the community and a fundamental human right. Unfortunately, the current state of our housing project reflects systemic failure to provide adequate shelter to those in need, leaving many families in precarious conditions and undermining their dignity. Honorable Speaker, ha ke ema mona ke ema ka pelo e bohloko haholo hobane selemo le selemo ha re ema mo re bua ka matlo a fuang batho ba rona ba batsho. Matlo ana a manyane haholo, a manyane ho a sa lekaneng le palo eo batho ba tshwanelang ho dula ka hara yona e ka ba accommodatang. Kana rona re batho ba bantsho, Speaker, ha re etsa bana ra ba etsa, ha re bapale. Jwale bothata ba matlo ana a re a fuang a qetella a nka bana ba rona a etsa hore ba tswe ba ye ko di-informal settlementeng, because ha re fumana ka tlung ka moo ha re sa kgona. Se le nna monga ntlo ke na le monnaka le mora o sa nyetse o na le mosadi wa hae, jwale wa utlwa gore ke tshutshu e nngwe e ngata ka tlung e sa dumeletseheng. Jwale e nngwe ya matlo ana, wena Speaker, matlo ana man a ke tsebe hore ho etsahalang ka ona. O bona lesedi o ntso le ka tlung le boteng fela mona ha o wa hlodisa ke lepatso la letona le lekana, o bona lesedi o le ka tlung o le bona le le ka ntle. Jwale bonnete ba taba ko hore matlo ana ha a sa thabisa le bonnyane ba ona ka nnete a manyane haholo, ha a sa re lekana botibong ba pelo tsa rona. The statistics speaks for themselves. Thousands of families remain on waiting list for proper housing, often living in the informal settlements or substandard conditions. This backlogs is a stark reminder of the promises made but unfulfilled. Honorable Speaker, our citizens deserve better. They deserve a government that prioritizes their basic needs and ensure that they have safe and secure places to live. Each day passes without action is a day that families are forced to enjoy instability and uncertainty. Moreover, the mismanagement of resources allocated for housing projects is exacerbated the situation. Funds intended for housing development have often been misused or poorly allocated, leading to incomplete projects and a lack of accountability. Speaker, this is not just a financial issue. It is a significant breach of trust between the government and its citizens. We must demand transparency, integrity in handling our public resources, ensuring that every cent goes towards building homes and improves lives. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to say more because this thing we are saying it every year. In conclusion, the failure of human settlement initiatives in the Free State is a pressing concern that demands our immediate attention. Speaker, imperative that we come together as a parliament to reassess our strategies, engage with our communities, and hold ourselves accountable for the promises we make. Let us commit to create a future where every resident has access to safe and dignified housing, restoring hope and trust amongst the people of the Free State. Ka mantswe ana wena speaker ke qetella. Ke re thina SEFF. Aziyigeni le ndaba le. Thank you very much. Ke ntho ya lona.
Honorable MEC.
Honourable Speaker, fellow MPLs, traditional leaders and distinguished guests, today we gather to discuss a pressing issue that lies at the heart of the province, the dire straits of human settlements in the Free State. During Oversight visits, we saw commendable work done on various projects in Winnie Mandela Town, Machabeng and Mangaung. Things were looking promising. Unfortunately, the wheels seem to have come off somewhere along the way. Honourable Speaker, in the fiscal year 2024-25, the Department of Human Settlements remarkably spent 99.5% of its allocated budget in the fourth quarter, a commendable financial commitment and an improvement on the previous quarters. However, this figure is drastically undermined by the stark reality that despite the expenditure, the department had only managed to meet 33% of its annual target. This indicates severe challenges in program delivery and project execution. It is both atrocious and unacceptable. We must confront these challenges that have become emblematic in the department's failures. The inadequate provision of housing, the neglect of vital water and sanitation infrastructure, and the scourge of corruption and/or incompetencies that have imprisoned many of our residents in despair. Systemic failures have left our informal settlements in squalor, while formal communities languish without proper services. The Free State faces significant challenge with the alarming persistence of land grabs, unfinished housing projects, persistent neglect of dilapidated municipal properties, and the scourge of tenderpreneurs. Firstly, a concerted effort needs to be made to assist or encourage municipalities to get their municipal planning tribunals in order. Several plans have reportedly been submitted, but not approved, as most municipalities' MPTs are non-functional by the MEC's own admitters. This should be action step numero uno, as without approval plans, implementation cannot commence. Let us now turn our attention to our informal settlements, where thousands of families continue to reside under dire conditions. These areas have become a testimony to the neglect perpetuated by the provincial governance. Despite the department's mandate to alleviate these conditions, we see little progress. In fact, projects against which the targets were made have once again been put on hold due to alleged contractual challenges. Many of these families still lack adequate shelter, clean drinking water, and access to sanitation, as can be seen in Pambili Thompson's settlement in Letsimeng, which was established 30 years ago after the fall of apartheid, and Freedom Square on the outskirts of Shwaraganang, Deelsville, along which, with many other Free State established years ago, are still languishing in these dire conditions. The consequences of these failures are not merely inconveniences. They are profound human rights violations. Illnesses linked to inadequate sanitation, waterborne diseases, and the psychological toll of living in these overstressed environments are unfortunately common. You may be surprised to learn the Free State province boasts a surplus of houses. However, the existence of these structures does not equate to housing solutions. The mismatch between supply and pressing needs of our residents speaks to more systemic issues within the department. These houses, rather than providing relief, stand empty, symbolizing unfulfilled promises and misguided priorities. Many of these houses, despite being a testament to resources allotted for development, have failed to serve their intended purpose. There are numerous reasons for this, including incomplete structures, lack of essential services, and most painfully, the inadequacies of planning processes. This serves as a stark reminder that the mere construction of a housing unit does not solve the overarching issues that our communities face. Compounding the problem are the numerous land grabs that have occurred over the past year, an issue we must tackle head-on. This is an issue that, if left unaddressed, threatens the very fabric of our social and economic stability. These incidents not only exacerbate the housing crisis, but also contribute to a culture of lawlessness and mistrust within our communities. They violate the rights of rightful landowners and undermine the legitimacy of the formal housing development process. Residents eager for a place to call home have too often been defrauded of forced to occupy land under dubious conditions, like the residents that occupied the infamous Mountain View in Lurie Park in Mangaung. Implementing stricter regulations to protect land from unlawful seizing is essential, coupled with educational campaigns that inform communities about their rights concerning land ownership. We need a multifaceted approach that helps landowners navigate disputes while promoting fair, transparent practices in the land registration and allocation. Furthermore, we have witnessed many housing projects that start with great fanfare but stall for years or even decades, and as was the case in G Hostel in Machabeng and Dark and Silver City in Mangaung. Communities watched in anguish as their hopes were dashed, their aspirations left unfulfilled, and their dreams postponed. Reportedly, there was a delay because of electrification and water reticulation for both Dark and Silver City and G Hostels, despite the building for the said units being completed. Centec and Eskom have both been engaged, and approval for the electrical reticulation on both sites have been granted. The contractors are in the process of procurement and installment of the electrical reticulation. Once completed, occupation of the units will commence. This will be an event to remember. As the sight of abandoned construction is both disheartening and infuriating. Each unfinished structure represents not just lost financial investment, but also shattered dreams for the families that were promised homes. To combat this recurring in the future, we must enforce stricter oversight over contractors, ensuring that they are held accountable for their commitments. Implementing performance benchmarks and penalties for delays will enforce the importance of a timely execution. Additionally, we should explore innovative funding models that allow private sectors involved in public projects, ensuring faster completion and maintenance of housing initiatives. Honourable Speaker, this brings me to the title deeds of almost 5,000 targeted pre-94 title deeds registered. Only a handful have been delivered. Property ownership in a vibrant market encompasses more than owning land. It involves being part of a dynamic market. It represents ownership of an asset that can appreciate over time, offering a solid return in investment. Additionally, it allows individuals to leverage their assets and become active participants in a future economy. Keeping this in mind, it is unacceptable that delivery is so low. Even considering the several challenges, such as unreported deceased estates and unresolved families disputes, title deeds are ownership and a vehicle to economic freedom. Corruption cannot be ignored. It is a disease that has seeped into the very core of our public service delivery systems. The rise of tenderpreneurs, individuals who exploit government contracts for personal gain, has only intensified the suffering of our residents. Billions of rands have been siphoned off through dubious contracts, inflated prices, and shoddy workmanship. Historic examples of systemic corruption in the ANC-governed department include the investigation by the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, which investigated claims focused on the R1 billion housing project, which is still being investigated by the SIU, and implicated the sister-in-law of MEC Jabo Mbalula, as well as other initiatives like the 255 million rand asbestos project, which is currently sub judice, and the City of Tomorrow project. This corruption directly affects the quality of housings and the service provided to our communities. These tenderpreneurs are more interested in lining their own pockets than creating sustainable living environments for our people. The misallocation of these resources compromises not only the quality of construction, but also the fundamental principles of equitable access to housing. And that is why the DA welcomed the action of the Provincial Department of Human Settlements when they referred information for criminal investigation to the Hawks in relation to the First Home Finance, formerly known as FLISP, where some of the officials were allegedly involved in fraudulent activities related to applications that were identified. We trust the rooting of the corruption will not stop there. Another glaring missed opportunity lies in the hundreds of dilapidated houses and municipal buildings that dot our province. Many of these structures could and should be refurbished to provide affordable housing options. The spirit of innovation and efficiency must underpin the approach to human settlements. Honourable Speaker, through you to the MEC, why not utilise our existing infrastructure to create homes for those in need? Such a strategy would not only revitalise our communities, but also be fiscally responsible. Rather than engaging in endless cycles of construction that fail to meet present demands, we must look to enhance, repair and repurpose what already exists. The ability to transform these buildings into habitable spaces could alleviate some of the pressures of our housing backlog, providing a win-win for our communities and our province. As cities and towns come to life with inhabitants engaged with such developments, commute to and from work in proximity, attend places of education, dine out with friends, go shopping, and visit tourist attractions. Honourable Speaker, addressing the failures in human settlement requires an unwavering commitment from all levels of government and stakeholders to ensure accountability and transparency. We must forge partnerships with non-governmental organisations, civil societies, and community leaders, pooling resources, knowledge, and expertise to cross sustainable solutions. The roles of these stakeholders should not be underestimated. They can serve as a vital conduit in bridging the gap between the government and the community, ensuring their voices are heard and needs are addressed creatively and inclusively. In closing, the failure of the Free State Provincial Department of Human Settlements to implement their budget accordingly to their objectives, resulting in a mere 33% achievement of KPIs. I repeat, only 33%, has left a lingering shadow over our communities. We have witnessed the heartbreaking consequences of an inadequate policy implementation, unchecked corruption, and systemic neglect. MEC, I see we agree that there is an urgent need for reform, accountability, and a renewed commitment to our residents, providing not just houses but homes, and not just structures but thriving communities. It is imperative that we establish a clear and accountable plan for the Department of Human Settlements. This plan must delineate specific targets, designate accountable frameworks, and implement robust monitoring mechanisms to measure the progress regularly. Honourable Speaker, through you to the MEC, I urge you to consider these critical issues and advocate for a change that is desperately needed. The Free State is not just a policy issue. It is a matter of human dignity, equity, and justice. Residents deserve better. They deserve our commitment to present real solutions that honour their dignity and aspirations. Our province has a potential to be a beacon of hope and a model of successful governance. However, we must be willing to act decisively, even in the face of challenges. Only through collective action can we hope to alleviate the suffering of those in informal settlements and ensure that formal settlements receive the essential services they need. The DA will not be supporting this budget until the human settlements can actively use their budget correctly. I thank you.
Honourable Member Leato.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier of the Free State, Mayor Mokoena, Honourable members of the Legislature and the Executive Council, Executive Mayors, Mayor Speakers and Councillors, traditional leaders present today, leaders from the ANC and the Alliance, leaders of the faith-based organization and business leaders, the Acting Director General and the heads of departments, comrades, compatriots and friends. The tabling of the budget vote by the MEC of Human Settlement is an appreciation of the progress made by the African National Congress in its endeavors to reverse the apartheid spatial planning, which deliberately segregated communities along racial lines, creating unequal access to resources, services and opportunities. Our people were fragmented and disjointed from urban areas. Black townships were located far from city centers and economic opportunities. Many black townships and informal settlements lacked basic services like water, sanitation, electricity, and healthcare, leading to poverty and inequality. Infrastructure in black areas was often underdeveloped, with inadequate roads, transportation, and public facilities. Spatial layout made it difficult for black people to access economic opportunities. Social cohesion was eroded, creating divisions and tensions between different racial and ethnic groups. Honorable Speaker, the spatial legacy of apartheid continues to affect South Africa's development and continues to influence the country's spatial planning until today. The land available between the so-called towns and townships is not suitable for human settlement. This was deliberately created so that human settlement for black people should continue to move away from the workplace, and our people must continue to pay high costs for transport. During the apartheid years, women's rights to own property, including houses, were severely limited. Laws and social norms reinforce patriarchal values, often requiring women to obtain permission from their husbands or male relatives to purchase property. These past laws and influx control measures restricted the movement and settlement of black people, including women, in urban areas, making it challenging for them to establish stable lives and families to own property. The majority who are poor and unemployed today are black people. This situation is a man-made by apartheid system. Today we are confronted by high levels of gender-based violence and femicide because families of black people were broken by the apartheid system. Men had to leave their homes for work opportunities far from their homes. They stayed in hostels and they were only allowed to go home once in a year. Women who worked as domestic workers stayed at the employers' back rooms. Their children and husbands were not allowed to visit or stay with them. Almost all townships had a government beer hall at the entrance, and no political party can pretend as if they don't know what happened in this country of ours. We may be criticized to make reference to our painful past or the injustices of the past. We will always refer to the damage caused by the apartheid system. There's an African proverb that says, "The one who throws the stone forgets. The one who's hit remembers." The other one says, "Setjhaba se sa tsebeng mo se tswang teng, se keke sa tseba mo se yang teng." As the African National Congress and the people of the Free State, we know where we come from, and we also know where we want to go. Honorable Speaker, it is a fact that the ANC government is the only government in South Africa which has implemented policies and programs aimed at addressing historical injustices of apartheid and promoting equitable access to land and property. On behalf of the African National Congress, we want to congratulate the MEC, and we also welcome the presentation of the human settlement budget of 1.2 billion for 2025-26 financial year. This budget will accelerate the provision of houses, upgrading of informal settlement, provision of service sites, removal of asbestos roofs, eradication of mud houses, and the creation of community residential units, to mention a few. The budget presented confirms the provision of the Freedom Charter, which says there shall be housing, security, and comfort, especially the verse that says, all people shall have the right to live where they choose, be decently housed, and bring up families in comfort and security. We welcome the increase of human settlement grant from 758 million to 829 million, aimed at facilitating access to adequate housing and improved living conditions, including the informal settlement upgrading partnership grant. These allocations continue to provide more houses to our people who were deprived the right to own property. We congratulate the department for the achievements of 2024-25, the 574 breaking new grounds, the 5,555 service sites, and all those achievements mentioned by the MEC in his speech. And in the interest of time, I am not going to mention them all, Honorable Speaker. The handover of title deeds empowers our communities and individuals, allowing them access to financial opportunities, use their property as an asset, and create better lives for our people. They can also be used as security for loans or to generate income. Houses with title deeds can be passed over to future generations, fostering a sense of legacy and belonging within families and communities. Our work as the African National Congress is to restore dignity, foster national unity, and contribute to reducing the cost of living by settling our people near facilities and services of work. Our struggle was about the restoration of human dignity, where our people live in harmony and peace. In pursuing the work to build a new society, we continue to draw inspiration from all generations of freedom fighters who fought for our liberation on the June 16 detachment. The brave and courageous youth cadres who were at the forefront of the struggle for liberation in June 1976, they did not recoil in the face of the brutal and violent oppressive apartheid regime, but were determined and willing to risk and sacrifice their young lives to ensure that we enjoy the fruits of freedom and democracy. Unlike in the Western Cape, where the DA is governing, when you enter Cape Town and drive to Langa, Nyanga, Guguletu, and Kaelisha, you will think that there are more than one province in the Western Cape. The DA today is unable to appreciate the progress made by the African National Congress. Honorable MEC, through you, Honorable Speaker, has started by acknowledging that there's progress made, but then decided to contradict himself to raise issues that are not necessarily holding any water. If you go to the Western Cape, shack fires in the Western Cape on a daily basis, especially in winter. The way our people are congested where they stay because they don't own land, land is only owned by those who dispossess them. There are fires where our people are dying on a daily basis. If you look at the floods today, there is no suburb which is flooded. It's only townships which are flooded because of the spatial planning of the apartheid. We are moving forward in terms of making sure that we build houses nearer to places where they work so that our people don't pay a lot of money. Honorable Tlute, through you, Chair, I think he speaks about planning. What planning is he referring to? Because the planning, the spatial planning that is existing today, it's something that was planned many years ago. Our people were put at places which are very low. That's why we are flooding in our townships and suburbs are not flooding. So I want to congratulate the MEC for making a provision in his budget so that the planning of our townships and towns becomes equal. But also, the EFF, Honorable Speaker, now, how le hana puso le ntontso e bona ka mahlo ha o gone hore o e amohele hobane EFF ba tseba hantle hore maemo a re iphumanang ho ona ka jeno ha holo maemo a batho ba batsho a se ka lebaka la hobane batho ba batsho ba ne ba sena boko ba o nahana ba ne ba sena matso a o sebetsa empa ke taba tse etsaetseng dilemo tse fetang tse magolo a mararo tse e leng hore mokgatlo wa ANC dilemong tse 30 o hatetse pele ho etsa bonnete ba hore o fetola maemo ao mo e leng hore batho ba rona ba na le matlo hobane re a tseba kaofela hore nakong e fetileng ho no sena motho a fuwe ntlo ke mmuso ebe motho o na le title deed. Re tseba hantle hore ka dinako tseo ha e le hore ntate wa hlokahala mme le bana ba ne ba ntshuwa ka tlung thoto ya bona e beua strateng empa ka jeno lena ha e etsahale ntho eo ke ka hona re amohelang hore lefapha le tswella pele le sebetsa le bo masepala ho etsa bonnete ba hore hona le title deed because title deed le ha o so hlokahetse ha ona motho a tla ntsha bana ba hao moo jwale EFF yona e ne ka re ke iketsetsa monyetla fela wa hore e dumele hore hona le kgatelo pele ho fapana le nakong e fetileng haholoholo bakeng sa batho ba batsho. Ha o sheba dipalopalo kajeno, batho ba e leng hore ba aperwe ke bofuma le tlhoko ya mosebetsi boholo ba bona ke batho ba batsho. Ke ka lebaka la hobane ha re ka ba ra tloha re fuwe monyetla wa hore le rona re bontshe bokgoni bo re bo fuweng ke Modimo ho etsa maemo a rona a phahame. Ha o sheba toropo le lekeishene kajeno di ntse di tshwana. Honorable MEC Mokoena ke a kgola ka pakelana le nna hore ha re o aha matlo haufinyana le mo batho ba sebetsang teng ha a kgone hobane sebaka se setseng ke sebaka seo batho ba kekeng ba beuwa ho sona. Jwale re batla hore re le African National Congress re amohela budget ena e beuweng ke lefapha la tsa matlo hore re ho bona tswelang pele le fe bonkgono le bontate moholo matlo hobane nkgono ya neng a fuwa ntlo mane Qwaqwa a dula ntlong ya mobu ke Honorable Mokoena ke nkgono e leng hore ka dilemo ho tloha botjheng ba hae ho fihlela ka jeno ha so ka ba le ntlo re a mo lebohisa re a o lebohisa Honorable Mokoena ka hore ebe batho ba baholo le bona ka jeno o khutlela morao ho bona hore ba fumane matlo le ha ntse re tseba hore batjha le bona ba tlameha ho fumana matlo empa batho ba rona ba lwanetse ntwa ya tokoloho e le batho ba baholo le bona ba tlameha ho fumana matlo e seng jwalo ka mane Kapa ha o kena toropong e ka re a ke tsebe o tsamaya kae ho thella fela empa ya lekeisheneng o tlo bona masisapelo moo batho ba rona ba kgangweng ke metsi moo batho ba rona ba tjhang hobane mekhukhu ya bona e petetsane ka tsela eo e leng hore ha o tjha mokhukhu o le mong mekhukhu e sha kaofela. Jwale re batla hore congratulations Honorable Mokoena, continue to do the good work and provide shelter and security to our people. Thank you.
The Honourable MEC may now reply to the debate. Order, Member, Chair of Chairs. Order. Chair of Chairs. You are out of order.
Thank you very much, Speaker. If I were to speak like opposition in a democratic society, today in South Africa, having acknowledged our history, I will pick some of the elements that Honorable MEC says to acknowledge where good things have been done, to raise challenges where problems still persist. That is the first trait that I think we must really encourage opposition to work on, because that's what the people of Free State need, and for that I congratulate him. If I was a leader of the Freedom Front Plus, I will tell the people of the Free State, yes, that the department lost 50 million rand in terms of its HSTG, but it also gained 50 million rand on the ISUPG, so that we balance the truth. That point did not come out. That the same treasury, we say, had no faith in the department. They had faith to give us another 50 million rand. And we raised our strong objections on the 50 that they took, and we still believe that their case was never tied, not at all. We will also say that there is consequence management in a sense that in last year in the committee, there was a GIC contract that was done in a wrong way, and yes, the department has cancelled that contract. This is what I will say as a leader of the Freedom Front Plus, to say that the department, despite the challenges, there's beginning to be glimpses of the right things or correct things that have been done, and as opposition, we acknowledge them. We will also acknowledge that the department, we understand why the former HOD of the department had to be released, because we needed to change the entire setup. And when the Premier dealt with this particular matter, there were a lot of stories that were interfering in the administration. So I'll expect the Freedom Front to say, We support the Premier in terms of the reshuffling of the HODs because we are attending to the capacity of the government to deliver. Part of this includes one fellow of a company called Madwala or Amadwala, who, when the government dealt with him to cancel his contracts, he goes and makes an allegation that we all want to treat as if it's a serious allegation, that the Premier wanted money. How can she want money from him when he cancelled him and his contracts? The bagger was simply not delivering. So it is consequence that is there, that is clear, that is visible. Somebody bagai mumuneka stokes to see as if the fellow said anything tangible. He said nothing. Absolutely nothing. He was dealt with because he was not delivering. We need to clean, including Honey Park, because of him. Now, when you have been dealt with for your own problems, you then raise allegations, all of a sudden you want to give them credibility. That's zero. But I'll speak like this because I'm the leader of the ANC, not of the Freedom Front Plus, but I hope that my honorable chair will really also hit the call. If I was the leader of the EFF, of course I will say we need to do population growth control so that the resources can cope with the problems we have. We cannot have, we've always spoken about the 20 million growth between 95 and 2023 and how our resources are battling to cope with that. The houses really are meant for the vulnerable. And we'll always wish that we can offer them more, but we can't. Unfinished projects, we're dealing with this. We're cleaning from G Hostel to Honey Park to everything. These are the problems that arose during the era of state capture. And state capture and Zondo. Zondo Commission was appointed by the government of the ANC. Let's make one point clear. If your child goes out and rape, we are not going to conclude that you send your child to go and rape. So if an official employed steals, or if a politician appointed steals, the ANC has not sent that person to steal. It is that person that steals. That is why in court, it is them who face the consequences. So please balance it to say they could have come from your ranks, but they are now facing the consequences of law. Now, if you want to spin politically, you say that the ANC is corrupt, but the ANC is not corrupt. The ANC is not standing trial on the asbestos cases. The ANC is not facing trial on any other issue. It is individual. So when your child rapes, deal with the child. Don't say the Van Vuuren family is raped. It will not be accurate. It's not true. Don't say the McKay family is raped. It will not be true. It will be incorrect. So let's bring about that particular balance into the space that this party that is in government, where inevitably, even if people try to steal in China, they will try to steal here. The issue is the ability to deal with them. Are you dealing with them? Yes, we are dealing with them. So we have got to say that the reality is that the Nationalist Party took power in the 40s. In the early 90s, they were still battling with the question of African empowerment. It took them more than the 30 years we have seen in the democratic government. The fraction, they were dealing with a fraction of our population. We are dealing with a majority. And we've got to really balance the two. That the work that is being done now, if I was the leader of the DA again, I will say, yes, ANC, the democratic government, there are a number of mistakes committed, but there's a lot of good work done. We can point here and here and here, but we want you to address these challenges that we are not dealing with. We'll say, yes, the department seems to be challenged, but we can see what we are doing to try to improve the department and show that there's consequence management. There are areas where you are acknowledging, Honorable McKay, and thanks for that. The issue of accountability, transparency, and efficiency is our battle cry. Also, the issue of acknowledgement of what we lost and what we gained. Please balance the equation so that what happens on the left also happens on the right, then we'll get the right answer. If you don't do that, the answer will obviously be wrong. New ideas, suggestions, we're open to that. We can never be opposed to that. The issue of a title deed is quite complex. It's not an easy thing. And if we try to make it easier, we'll mislead our people. In most instances, particularly in African communities, when a person died, the estate is not handled as it is being handled in probably other communities. You find people who are still sitting with an estate of a person who passed on 18 years ago, and they are handled through how families in our communities are handling the issue. But at a time when they've got to acquire a title deed, number of documents are missing, we've got to deal with that. But is there a problem at the level of the deeds office? Yes, there is. Is there a problem at the level of municipalities processing this thing? Yes, there is. And we need to solve that. So, simple level the playing field and let's deal with the issue so that we at times, Speaker, don't sing the lyrics of a song. I mean, a song about the lyrics that really do not exist. I will have thought that the opposition will dance to the new song. That yes, we've got 1,400 sites together with roads, water, and sewer in the Ditlhabeng. Yes, in Mutaka, we're halfway on that we're doing there. Yes, in Sasolburg, we are also halfway in terms of that particular project. And yes, we have kick-started the wheels of building houses in the Free State, which was not happening for years. And yes, we have acknowledged that there's a problem of historical houses. We are dealing with it, including the problems we have about Faranani project. That is not yielding the type of desired results, but the department is intervening in that. That's a song that we'll have wanted to hear. And I still believe that we'll hear that song. The population is ever expanding. There's a migration from the farms to the townships. Our people are being either moving on their own or they're being evicted or they're being forced to move. And the pace and the time you take for a development of a township, it is not coping primarily because we do not have equivalent resources. And the question of construction of building new areas, in as much as we have done it well in the last 20 years, we have always been playing a catch-up game. Remember I said when we took power in 1994, we had to start to build areas that have got services such as water and sewer for the new areas, but we also had a catch-up to do because the townships that did not have this particular issue. And it's a reality that only those who were born and bred in the township will understand this particular issue. The same goes for roads, public amenities, and so on. So it's a catch-up race, as well as the dealing with the legacy that we have inherited. What is our wish? That one day we'll have an opposition that is progressive enough that when they stand up and speak, we know that they speak on behalf of the people of the Free State. They will raise and affirm what is correct, but at the same time, they will point us to the things that are wrong, as opposed to a tone that seeks to say everything that the black government does is not okay. Thank you very much, Speaker.
The reply by the MEC concludes the debate on Vote 13, Human Settlements. The Chair of Chairs shall now take the chair.